Hello, so I am a Python programmer, and a while ago I was just minding my business when I stumbled across this outstanding application. It's called Anki. Now, some of you must have heard it if you're students. If you haven't, then this is what it is. It's a application that tests you on flashcards, but it's special because it has this unique feature called a spaced learning algorithm. Let me explain what that is. So, we can choose a deck. A deck is a set of cards. We'll study them. Now, I've created these, so here's your question, cell membrane. Now, if I type show answer, it says a subcellular structure that controls which substances can move into and out of the cell. So I may have known this, I may have not. There are three options at the bottom now. So if I knew it really well and I found this card easy, I would tap easy. And what that would do is that would test me on this card again in 4 days. Whereas if I tap again, it will test me it again in 1 minute. So for now, I am just going to click easy because I found it very easy. And now I can use that with my mitochondria. You know, perhaps I didn't know that. I'll click again, and it will come again in a few minutes. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and bring this into our own program and code it all by ourselves with everything. So just for the record quickly, I don't own Anki or anything. I'm not trying to copyright it or anything. I'm just doing something for fun. So the first thing we want to do is create a new file. Note that I'm using a folder because we're going to have many more pieces of media and files, so I'll definitely recommend having a folder to keep everything. I'm going to call this main.py. Now, in order to create GUI in Python, you can use a few things. Most people like to use Tkinter. However, Tkinter is not very advanced. So I'm going to use something called PyQt. PyQt is a module in Python which you can use to create GUI interfaces. So in case you haven't installed it, you just want to open up your command prompt and quickly type in pip install PyQt5. Now I already have it, so I'm not going to bother, but if you don't, just quickly do that and then come back. Now, let's import our necessary modules. Number 1, from PyQt5 import Qt widgets. Now, Qt widgets is a module which allows us to add different types of widgets like buttons, labels, grids, that kind of stuff. Then we want to import Qt GUI. This focuses a bit more on aesthetics, like it can allow you to add images and fonts. And then Qt Core. This focuses on other additional stuff that we might need, for example, signals and alignments, that kind of stuff. And these three make up probably, I'd say, at least 70% of PyQt5. I don't think we'll need any others. Now, let's also import system, because we'll need that later. Okay, so now we'll create our main class. Class my window. Now this is going to host all of our first window code. So we want to set the class to type Qt widgets dot q main window, because this is a main window type. Now, let's create the init function. We also want to add the value self. For those of you who don't know classes very well, what self does is it allows you to reference variables to this class only. Basically, it allows you to create global variables in a class without using the keyword global. I'll explain in a second when we actually use it. Now, we want to run super my window self dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore. Now, what this will allow us to do is refer to my window as self. Now, if I said like self dot delete, for example, it will delete itself, and itself is my window. Obviously, I'm not going to do that, but just examples. Now, let's set the geometry what set geometry does is it allows you to set the positioning and size of the widget. So as you can see, it takes in 4 variables: AS, AX, AY, AW, and AH. Now, AX is the position on the x-axis where the widget will appear. We'll set it to 100 for now. AY is the coordinate on the y-axis where the widget will appear. We will also set that to 100. AW is the width of the actual window. We'll just set that to 500. And AH is also the height of the actual widget, so we'll set that to 500. Now, let's set the title. So self.set window title. This sets the title of the actual program. We'll just call it flashcards for now, because we're creating a flashcard program. We also want to call a function over here called init UI, which we will create right now. So def init UI self. Now in this, we'll host all of our UI details. So for example, self.btn is going to be equal to qt widgets.q push button. We'll set the text to button, and we'll set the parent to the main window self. That way it will actually appear in this window. So what this does is it creates a variable called button, but it sets the button it creates the button with self at the beginning. That means we can refer to this button from anywhere in this class. And Python will also know that the parent of button is my window. So next we'll resize the button to 100, and we'll move the button to point 100. Finally, we want to show everything. So that's now our main program for now. To run it, we want to first create an application. And we'll set the argument to a sys dot args. Now we'll run our main class by setting it to a variable called win. I cannot spell. And finally, we'll run that application by sys.exit app.execute. So this should now create a nice, simple interface for now for us. If we run it, you can see that, look, it actually creates a very nice GUI where you have a button. You can see that we have the actual name, flashcards. If you can measure pixels, you can tell that that's 500 by 500, and we have a button. But the button doesn't currently do anything. So let's quickly add something for the button to do. Let's create a function def clicked, and once again we want to set the variable to self. Now, when clicked, self.btn.set text, so we'll set the text to clicked. We'll also print clicked, just for a view, just to make sure that it's working. Now, we can run this, but it won't work. I'll show you. It doesn't work. There's a reason. We haven't actually called clicked. To call it, we'll add over here self.btn.clicked.connect self.clicked. Now we call it self.clicked because we set the parent of it right over here to my window. So if we did clicked, nothing would happen. But if we use self.clicked now, something happens. Now this all would work. When self.btn, when the button is clicked, do this function. So let's run it and let's make sure it works. We can run it and look, there's a button. When we click it, the text changes and it prints right over here, clicked. So that was a brief introduction to PyQt. Hopefully tomorrow we can start creating this top bar over here and add hover effects. So if you don't want to miss that, why not just subscribe? No harm, is there? So in that case, I'll just see you guys tomorrow. Bye.